Well, good evening to you. How are you? Welcome. It's Friday night. It's the 5th of May. No, it's not. It's the 5th of June. 5th of June. And it's Bobcast. I'm pleased to be here. I tell you, the weather outside is a little bit like one or two people describe me, to be honest. Wet and windy. It's cold as well. I try not to be cold, but it is cold out there. But you'll notice I'm short sleeves and open neck shirt. I'm relaxing, I'm chilled, and I'm absolutely cool. Well, I'm not actually. I've put the heating on because I thought I am feeling chilly, so I put the heating on, and I'll put the electric blanket on before I get into my bed as well. So that'll be me nice and warm as toast. And there's nothing better than nice hot toast. Oh, I love hot toast, don't you? Oh, I do enjoy a bit of toast. Oh, something about it in the toast and butter, and maybe some marmalade. And we eat a really nice butter that we get from a nice food shop, M&S, and it's a French butter with sea salt in it, crystals of sea salt. It's a bit of an extravagance, but it is very nice. Right, I'm reading a horror book in Braille at the moment, and I just feel something bad is going to happen. I like this. What do you call it when a snowman loses his temper? A meltdown. I've got to tell you, you can't see the screen that I use because it's behind the camera. Well, the camera, that sounds a bit posh. It's behind the iPad. And I bought a new iPad to do these podcasts with and to record our services with. I recorded this afternoon, and Eucharist, everything is now ready. It's all going to be put together by the magic of YouTube, and there'll be a service for you on Sunday. So I use my screen behind here on my iMac. My iPad hangs over the screen at the front. I'm trying to think of a way I could show you a picture of it, but I'm not sure. And I get sent all these terrible jokes. A thing called Humour Train, and it's really very good. But there's an advert just underneath the joke, and it says, "Do this to clean earwax." And there's a picture of an ear with a huge piece of wax being dragged out of it. It says, "Earwax can cause hearing loss and memory loss. Try this simple fix to remove it." Well, I'm not even gonna go. Ooh. That's better. Just blow it through. That's by far the best way. By far the best way. Right, so I've been thinking a little bit about the environment today and the world in which we live in. My colleague Grace has posted something on her Facebook page, and it says, there's a picture of two girls, and it says, "My beautiful granddaughters, my prayer is that they can grow up in a world that's safe and where they're considered equal." And two beautiful mixed race children of Grace's grandchildren. And I just thought, that's a prayer for all of us at the moment, isn't it? That everybody can grow up safe. Everybody treated equal. "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God," is a great prayer that came from I think it was within the 1970 Scottish Episcopal liturgy, the Grey Book as it was known. I was brought up on the Grey Book, and it was just one of those. It's one of those things, isn't it? That I just wish we could get to a stage where we're not having to have these terrible riots and all these things that go with it, because it's just scary. And I just wish that we could treat everyone with equality. But it's amazing how quickly we slip into inadvertently saying the wrong thing or having prejudiced views. And I think I would need to say that, the thing about having prejudiced views is beginning to recognise them and then trying to work with them in some way that we possibly could. I was lucky, I had a great childhood. And I remember in the summer, my dad would put me in a round tyre and roll me down a hill. It was fantastic. Well, they were the good years. Yes, okay. I know. I could tread that path before, or retread. Gosh, do you remember retreads? That's for another podcast. But anyhow, I've had this joke sent to me, and it's doing the rounds. I've seen it a couple of times already today. I'm just going to read it from here. The government in Egypt has asked the city taxi drivers to drive around Cairo sounding their car horns regularly. It's hoped that this familiar sound within the city will induce a return to tranquility and normality following the recent pandemic. Operation Tutankhamun will run for the next couple of weeks. Dear, oh gosh, that's dreadful. That's that pyramid selling, isn't it? And all those other Tutankhamun jokes, which I can't really do any more of. But as we think about equality and we think about love for all people and treating everybody the same, I saw somebody was getting into trouble for having a T-shirt with a very rude 4-letter word on it, and then the name of the Prime Minister underneath it. And, they were saying, oh, it's our right to say this. And I just thought, I'm really pleased it didn't say Bob King on that T-shirt. I mean, probably some of you want to do say that. But it's really painful, and it doesn't give us the right just to do all these things. Am I on a bandwagon? I don't know. But there's a whole fragility of the way in which we're living, and I've been hearing today on the news a couple of times now about the difficulties that zoos are having. How did I get to zoos from all this? Well, because I need to get there. And Chester Zoo, I know, is having problems financially. There's a little zoo in Borth, private zoo, in Wales. It's also having a lot of problems. And Edinburgh Zoo up here in Scotland. And they're really struggling, and they're wondering how they're going to survive if they don't have visitors coming back fairly soon. I'm not a great fan of zoos, I must be honest. I like the one in Jersey, Gerald Durrell's Jersey Wildlife Preservation Trust. I like that one. Quite like the Clifton Zoo, and I'm nothing against the others. But do I like animals in captivity? Do I like all these things? I'm not quite sure. But when they were showing the pictures of the zoos, they showed some pictures of hippopotamuses. And I was thinking, well, what poem could I do today? And I thought I'd do something with animals. So I thought of a poet, and I thought, can I flounder around here? No, I'll find a swan. And those of you who are ahead of me know where I am now. This is a poem by Michael Flanders and Donald Swan. If you used to listen to children's favourites, you'll have known it as a song. If you listen to my radio show that used to be on a Wednesday night, and will come back again, I assure you, I've played it. But this is the poem that makes up the great hippopotamus song. So this is to all fragile beasts out there, human or animal, that they should be loved and shouldn't be hunted, human or animal. They should be allowed to live in peace. And I'm not saying anything against zoos, but I want to say I'm not in captivity. I want to be free. A bold hippopotamus was standing one day on the banks of the cool Shalimar. He gazed at the bottom as he peacefully lay by the light of the evening star. Away on the hilltop sat combing her hair a fair hippopotami maid. The hippopotamus was no ignoramus, and he sang her the sweet serenade. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow down to the hollow, and there let me wallow in glorious mud. The fair hippopotami he aimed to entice from her seat on the hilltop above, as she hadn't got a ma to give her advice, came tiptoeing down to her love. Like thunder the forestry echoed the sound of the song that they sang when they met. His amorata adjusted her garter and lifted her voice in duet. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow down to the hollow, and there let me wallow in glorious mud. Now more hippopotami began to convene on the banks of that river so wide. I wonder now what I'm to say of the scene that ensued on the Shalimar side. They dived all at once with an ear-splitting splosh, then arose to the surface again. A regular army of hippopotami, all singing that haunting refrain. Mud, mud, glorious mud, there's nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let me wallow in glorious mud. The amorous hippopotamus, whose love song we know, is now married and father of 10, good grief. He murmurs, God rot 'em, as he watches them grow, and he longs to be single again. He'll gamble no more on the banks of the Nile, which Nasser is flooding next spring, with hippopotamuses in silken pyjamas. No more will he teach them to sing. That last verse was added on, and is a very powerful verse, isn't it? What I'm talking about, really. So today we've talked about equality. We've talked about BOBCAST. I said to my dad one day, how are you going to spend the weekend? He said, well, first Mum and I are going to go to the optician and pick up our new glasses, and then we'll see. Yes, okay. I can tell you, by the way, I used to be addicted to soap, but thank God, now I'm clean. Anyhow, it's a weekend. I'm never too sure about weekends and lockdown, but there we are. We'll see how we do this weekend. I'm sure it'll be better than last weekend, and we'll see. I hope the weather's going to improve a little bit, because as I said, it's windy and wet out there. It's a cold night here in Scotland. Hope you're okay. Take care of yourselves. May God bless you. And may you say a prayer for those that you want to bless, and maybe for those that you find it difficult to bless, and maybe for those who you find you have a natural prejudice. And we pray that, rather like Grace says for her beautiful granddaughters, quoting, my prayer is that they grow up in a world that's safe, where they're considered equal. Just have a look at that on Facebook. Watch thou, dear Lord, with those who wake or watch or weep tonight, and give thou your angels charge over those who sleep. Tend your sick ones, Lord Christ. Rest your weary ones and bless your dying ones. Soothe your suffering ones and pity your afflicted ones, and all for your love's sake. Amen. I put another video on my Facebook page tonight. It's called If This Time, written by Kevin McCormack, an Irishman. It's really good. So if you do have a moment to listen to it, do so. Right, I'm off. I'm looking forward to going to the Italian restaurant, my favourite one. I said to the waiter last week, how long will my spaghetti be? He said, I don't know, Bob. We never measure it. Bye.